Wolf's life in the forest. Once, beneath a silver moon that poured light like spilled milk across the treetops, a wolf pup was born in a quiet forest clearing. His name was Ash. He was the smallest of the litter, with fur the color of storm clouds and bright amber eyes that seemed too big for his tiny face. He was born during the last snow of winter, when the forest still whispered with cold winds, and the rivers ran slow and heavy beneath thin sheets of ice. Ash's mother curled around him and his brothers and sisters inside their den, a hollow carved into the side of a small hill beneath the roots of an ancient pine tree. The world outside was vast and mysterious, but inside the den, it was warm and safe. For weeks, Ash knew only darkness, warmth, and the steady heartbeat of his mother. But the forest was waiting. Spring awakens. When Ash first stepped outside the den, spring had begun painting the forest green. The snow had melted into sparkling streams. Tiny flowers pushed through damp soil. Birds stitched songs across the morning air. The scent of pine, earth, and new life filled his nose. Ash stumbled clumsily into the sunlight, his paws too big for his body. He tripped over twigs, pounced on falling leaves, and yipped at butterflies that refused to be caught. His father, the leader of the pack, watched carefully from the shadows. The pack was Ash's world. There were 6 adult wolves and 4 pups. They moved like wind through trees, silent, connected, aware. Even as a pup, Ash could feel it, an invisible thread tying them together. At night, he would listen as the adults howled. The first time he tried, it came out as a squeaky whine. His siblings tumbled over him playfully, but Ash kept trying. Lessons of the wild summer arrived with long golden evenings and buzzing insects. By then, Ash had grown taller, leaner, faster. His legs strengthened and his senses sharpened. He learned to listen, not just with his ears, but with his whole body. The forest spoke in subtle ways. A snapped twig meant movement. A sudden silence in birdsong meant danger. The direction of the wind carried stories. His mother began teaching him to track. "Do not chase with your eyes," she seemed to say through her movements. "Follow with your nose, with your patience." Ash learned the scent of deer, rabbit, and elk. He learned that hunger required teamwork. A lone wolf might survive, but a pack thrived. The first hunt he joined was clumsy. He ran too soon, startled the herd, fell in the mud. But no one scolded him. The pack simply tried again another day. And slowly, Ash learned rhythm, the coordinated dance of pursuit, pressure, patience, and timing. When the pack succeeded, they ate together. Even the smallest pup received a share. That was the way of the forest. Storms and strength. Late summer brought a violent thunderstorm. Dark clouds swallowed the sky. Rain slashed through the trees. Lightning split an old oak in half with a sound like the earth breaking. Ash, now nearly full grown, felt fear coil in his chest. The forest that once felt playful now seemed fierce. The river swelled dangerously. Branches crashed down. The wind howled louder than any wolf. The pack huddled together in a sheltered ravine. Ash realized something that night. The forest was not just beautiful, it was powerful. It did not bend for anyone. And yet, when dawn came, golden and calm, the forest seemed reborn. Mist rose from the soaked ground. The broken oak became shelter for insects and birds. Life continued. Ash began to understand. Survival was not about fighting the forest. It was about moving with it. Autumn of Change. As leaves turned red and gold, something changed inside Ash. He felt restless. He ran farther from the pack during patrols. He lingered at the edge of their territory, staring into the distant hills. His father watched him with knowing eyes.
One crisp evening, under a rising harvest moon, the pack howled together. Their voices blended into one long, echoing song that rolled across the valleys. Ash lifted his head and howled, not as a pup, not as a learner, but as a wolf. His voice was deep now, clear, strong, and in that howl was both belonging and longing. Winter trials. Winter returned, harsher than before. Food grew scarce. Snow buried familiar paths. The air bit at lungs and paws. The pack worked harder than ever. One hunt lasted 2 exhausting days. The elk they pursued was strong and desperate. Ice made footing treacherous. Ash slipped, regained balance, and kept running. He worked beside his siblings now as equals. When they finally brought the elk down, Ash felt both sorrow and gratitude. The forest demanded life for life. He understood that now. During the coldest night of winter, a rival wolf pack crossed into their territory. Ash's father confronted them. Growls rippled through the frozen air. Teeth flashed. Snow scattered beneath pounding paws. Ash stood shoulder to shoulder with his pack. He felt fear, but he did not retreat. After a tense standoff and a brief clash, the rival pack retreated. No wolf was seriously harmed, but the message was clear. This forest was claimed. That night, as they rested, Ash felt pride swell within him. He was no longer the smallest pup. He was part of something powerful. The Call of the Unknown. When spring came again, Ash made his decision. Young wolves often leave their birth pack to find new territory, new companions, and begin packs of their own. It is the way of wolves, the way of growth. One morning before dawn, Ash walked to the ridge overlooking the forest. Mist curled between trees like drifting smoke. His mother approached quietly. They stood together in silence. No words, no gestures, just understanding. Ash touched his nose gently to hers. Then he turned and began walking. He did not look back. Alone, but not lonely. The world beyond his birth territory was vast. Mountains rose in the distance. Wide rivers cut through valleys. Fields stretched toward human lands he avoided carefully. Ash traveled for weeks. He learned to hunt alone, harder, riskier. He learned new scents and new dangers. He encountered bears, owls, foxes, and once, the distant echo of human voices that made him vanish silently into brush. There were nights he felt loneliness heavy as snow, but when he lifted his head and howled, the stars answered with silence that felt full. He was part of something larger than a single pack. He was part of the wild. A new beginning. One evening, near the edge of a high meadow bursting with summer flowers, Ash caught a scent unfamiliar yet intriguing. Another wolf. He followed the trail carefully. At the meadow's far edge stood a silver-gray she-wolf with sharp eyes and confident posture. She did not flee. She did not threaten. They circled slowly, curious, cautious. Then, together, they lifted their heads and howled, two voices intertwined, not a challenge, not a warning, a beginning. Seasons turn again. Years passed. Ash became what his father once was, a leader. He and his mate carved out territory among rolling hills and dense woods. They raised pups beneath a fallen cedar tree. Ash watched them tumble over each other, just as he once had. He taught them to listen to wind, to respect storm, to hunt with patience, to howl with pride. His fur slowly silvered with age. Scars marked his muzzle. A map of battles survived and winters endured. One quiet autumn evening, as leaves drifted softly around him, Ash climbed a familiar ridge near his den. He looked over his territory. He heard his pack playing below, smelled wood smoke faint in the distance from far-off humans, felt cool wind brush through his thick coat. He lifted his head and howled one long, steady note. It carried across trees, over hills, into valleys beyond sight. A song of survival, of belonging, of change. The forest answered, not with words, but with rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the endless whisper of wind. Ash closed his eyes. He understood now. A wolf's life is not about dominance, not about strength alone. It is about balance, family, courage, and knowing when to hold on and when to let go. And beneath the same silver moon that watched over his first breath, Ash rested, surrounded by the rhythm of the forest that had shaped him from the very beginning. The forest lived, the pack thrived, and the song of the wolf continued.